The lovely lady, the only flower among all the thorns. Okay, Miss Liyana Dhamirah. Okay, a little bit more on Miss Liyana. She is a Red Dots United treasurer, and she is an entrepreneur herself. Okay, she has helped out quite a number of needy families in Singapore to get their confidence up and back into the economy. And she's also the proud author of the best-selling book, which was being highlighted in the government in one of the sessions, where one of the ministers did mentions that talking about the life of Liyana Dhamirah herself, and her book titled Homeless, The Untold Story of a Mother's Struggle in a Crazy Rich Singapore. And without further ado, I will pass the mic to our lovely lady, Miss Dhamirah.
Thank you, Fazli. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Pada sekalian, terima kasih tuan-tuan semua kerana hujan hari ini. Ya Allah, saya betul banggalah kita dapat do this today with our language itself. And itulah indahnya bahasa kita yang tak dapat langsungkan kepada bila kita buat debate apa di parlimen. So insyaAllah akan satu hari nanti kita datang ke sana. Alright, so back to here. I think the only Malay that you will see on my slides will be the title for the cover today, and I do some visual treats for you, so just in case that you don't sleep when I give you some pointers of what we have here to share. So on our topic, hanya apabila orang Melayu berjaya barulah bahasa kami hidup. Only when Malays strive will their language prosper. That's the main. That's one of the dilemma that caused me also when I was doing these slides, to think that, oh, should I do this in Malay or in English? Or should I be bilingual with subtitle below? But I think it for the benefit of everyone, I will make it in English, and I will mix it with Malay, if I may. And this is to relate back to what our fellow panelists have already shared. So you might see that some of what I might cover are what some from the other panelists have already shared earlier on. Alright, next slide please, Joe. Thank you. Alright, so I'll start with the special position of Malays. There are about 750 Malays who make up 13.5% of the Singapore population. The Singaporean Constitution recognizes the special position of the Malays, who are officially defined as the indigenous people of Singapore. Now, this section also gives the government the responsibility to protect, safeguard, support, foster, and promote their political, educational, religious, economic, social, and cultural interests. And, of course, their language. Malay have progressed with the growing affluence of Singapore, right? However, next slide please, Joel. Many Singapore Malays feel that they are second-class citizens in their own country. And this is by research. Malays still earn 25% less, next slide please, Joel. Thank you, than the national average, lagging far behind ethnic Chinese and Indians. Malays are still participating in higher education below par with the rest of the Singaporean population, leading to a great underrepresentation within the professional classes, elite government positions, armed forces, and police. Malays have a much higher incidence of obesity, hypertension, diabetes, hypertension, and other fatal diseases than the rest of the population. Next slide, please. Worse, Malays have been blamed for this in the public media as having a cultural deficit, being stereotyped as undertaking unhealthy cultural practices. So, feeling of English, I'm going to release what I've been hearing on the ground, because I really do a lot of groundwork. So this is something that I picked up from, not only from research, but from my own personal experience as well. So we suffer discrimination in hiring. Are the first group laid off due to business shutdowns from COVID-19 restrictions, are overrepresented in crime, drug abuse, and prison population. However, even with their status protected by the constitutions, Malays are seriously hindered by regulations restricting the operation of traditional small-scale business enterprises. You know, those home-based business, niaga kecil-kecil, gerai from home. Consequently, the incidence of social and economic poverty in Singapore falls primarily on ethnic Malays, with a prevailing sense of English within the community. I hope this brings some light to it. Okay, so next, I'm going to touch into the Malay kampung, the context of the Malay kampung. The government's EIP and Housing Development Board policy of allocating flats within estates to reflect the multiracial composition of Singapore society has totally ignored the cultural context of the Malay kampung. This sense of community, a pillar of Malay culture, has been totally destroyed. Racial marking within HB estates has institutionalized ethnic identity, leading to discrimination. This has brought restrictions upon Malays buying and selling apartments in HB estates, effectively marginalizing them within the housing market. Now, let's move to the next one. General workforce. Repeated workplace surveys that have found around 3/4 of Malays feel ignored when applying for jobs. Many say that education, language proficiency, and race are negative attributes in job interviews. Now, the organization One People SG, if some of you may have read it before, has argued that not enough has been done through employers to address this issue, a major area the government needs to focus upon. The ban on the wearing of the headscarf or hijabs is regarded as discriminatory against Malay culture or religion. After years of lobbying by the Malay Muslim community, Muslim nurses are now, from November 2021, allowed to wear the tudung to work, yay! But Muslim servicewomen in the forces are still not allowed to. Let's move on. So I'm going to touch about the Singapore forces, like some of our one here have already mentioned about the armed forces, and I'm going to touch upon all our forces, which is the SPF, SPF, and SEF. So let's take in 1957, for example, the government reported almost 50% of all Malays were involved in uniform groups such as the police and army, or were common laborers. By 1966, about 50% of employed Malays were working in the service sector, usually at marginal jobs. In 1957, over 75% of policemen, firemen, and security forces were Malay. Interestingly, look at the chart. By 1970, both the percentage and the number has decreased. By 1980, the percentage of Malays in the various forces had decreased to a significant number of 13 from where it began. Malays have traditionally been concentrated on the lower levels of service industry as well as the armed forces and police. One informant explained that traditionally, some inherited or followed their fathers in their occupations. He referred to these as literal responsibility. Alright, so it's very simple. If your father was a policeman, then you become a policeman. We used to say, don't seek another job, follow your father. Now Malays have been shut out of many of their traditional occupations. We must look to other things, and many of those jobs are uncertain and indefinite. The old security is gone. And I believe earlier on, some of the gentlemen in our panelists did mention about our late Lee Kuan Yew. So I would like to raise about these particular feelings of mistrust that was being built from the leaders themselves. In 1987, Lee Hsien Loong, then Second Minister of Defense, said, if there is a conflict, if the SAF is called upon to defend our homeland, we don't want to put any of our soldiers in a difficult position, where the emotions for the nations may come into conflict with his emotions for religion. Because these two very strong fundamentals, and if they are not compatible, then they will be two very destructive forces in opposite directions. And then yet again, in 1999, Lee Kuan Yew himself echoed the same sentiments about the conflict of interest Malays might have in Singapore was in conflict with Malaysia. However, Singapore's Malays had a strong tradition of service in the armed forces under British colonial command, so removing them from combat positions into logistics and administrations has been very difficult to say. Now, of the Malay people in society determines the power of our Malay language. Singapore is still very much a transactional society where people pick up subjects or languages because of its practical benefits and are less motivated by the love of the language. Right? That's one of the issues that we brought up by some of our fellow gentlemen just now. For example, if we take Mandarin, about 20 million people are learning Mandarin outside of China. And more than 70 countries and regions have incorporated the Chinese language into their national education system by 2020. This is because people see the dominance of the Chinese and want to plug into the success of the people by learning their language. Anecdotal evidence suggests that many Malays opt for their children to learn Mandarin as a second language in school rather than Malay. This is a phenomenon going on now. Even the government is worried that more young Malays in Singapore are not using their mother tongue as their main language of communication, compared with a decade ago. The government said that trend is worrying from the perspective of challenges that they will face in mastering the Malay language. But in pragmatic society like Singapore, why should anyone learn a language of people who are perceived to be weak? But the learning of the language is integral, not only to keep our culture, customs and traditions, but also to pass down very important values which are unique to the Malay people. So, for the Malay language to thrive, there is an urgent need to erase any negative stereotypes associated with the Malay people. Now, RDU recognizes that this cannot be done overnight or with the stroke of a pen. We need to build a culture of meaningful dialogues that we have today and have honest discussions. The stereotypical prejudice against the Malay Muslim community can be eventually overcome when we start to build positive stories. I believe we did raise it, like one of our panelists raised it earlier just now. Stories which depict the Malay Muslims have contributed to the well-being of Singapore, that we were even instrumental in fighting the independence of Singapore. So one positive story that we can never overemphasize in this narrative is the story of Lieutenant Adnan bin Saidi. Can I have a show of hands who don't know Lieutenant Adnan? Or can I have a show of hands who knows? Thank you. So, I wouldn't bore you with the story. Next slide please, Jill. Thank you. So, Lieutenant Adnan is military officer of the 1st Infantry Brigade for the Japanese at the Battle of Pasir Panjang in Singapore. And this is one of the things. A lot of us know the history, but it's not often relayed across and not often being shared with our young ones. Though a memorial was built and erected, how actively are we promoting their stories and sharing it with our younger generations? So a war memorial plaque honoring Adnan and the Malay Brigade was commissioned by Lee Kuan Yew, the first Prime Minister of Singapore. Is this a token? So what we hope for is RDU proposes that we do more to recognize this war hero, and in doing so, build positive stories about the sacrifices of Malay Singaporeans. We propose that 14th February be designated as Lieutenant Adnan Saidi Day and be gazetted as a public holiday. Now, this Lieutenant Adnan Day will serve several purposes. For example, as we remember and commemorate it year after year, it will slowly begin to be etched in the minds of people that Malays can be trusted. We have a Malay person who gave up his life for Singapore, and Singaporeans during the war. The walls of distrust and prejudice will eventually crumble. Now, the gazetted public holiday will also be useful for the wider community and help towards a better work-life balance. Why? Because we are a country with one of the least public holidays in the world. So that's it. That's all that I have to share today. Thank you so much for your attention.